Hello, everyone, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's the 17th of June, 2026. My name is Carey Holzman, and thank you so much for tuning in as we follow up on the BOSGAME mini PC that we reviewed initially here. Ryzen 5 76, 78, 40 HS. Wow, these glasses are not good for reading that fine print. Actually, the print's not that fine. What is it? 7640 HS. Here we go. And this already has 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gig of storage in it, which at this point, with RAM and storage prices being what they are, almost makes the computer free. Not quite, almost. But thank you so much for tuning in as we follow up here on part 2 and just kind of overall evaluate if it's a recommended purchase or not. So far, it's looking positive. Now, let me see, before I go much further, let me shout out a thank you to our friend Buster, who sends us an Amazon gift card in lieu of Super Chat, as he does every single show, joining us all the way from Scotland. Thank you so much, Buster, as always. We hope you're doing well, my friend. And let me, let's see, I got to turn this button off here, and I go over to this screen here. It's fun being my own producer. And let me say hello to everybody. Montana joins us, along with Jonathan Fells, Manuel Heiss. I also see Sean Skinner, Michael Lavelle, and of course our good friend Mark Gaines, Richard DeFries, 3D Everything, David Graham, and Andy W6AD says hello. There's Mara, our channel administrator and our chat room moderator, saying hello to everyone in the chat. Bradley Morris says hello, along with John Rogers and Dragon Time Lord. I also see Jim Kenny and John Paul Bacon saying hello. Welcome in, guys. Buster says hello to everyone. The temperature in Edinburgh is 61 degrees Fahrenheit or 16.1 degrees Celsius right now. Yeah, we're hitting about 107, 108 degrees Fahrenheit here in Phoenix, but you know, it's a desert. We'll be doing that for the next 3 months, so hold on to your butts. It's going to get hot. Well, for me anyway. I'm used to being in the hot seat. I got some of the, Buster sent us some lights. I did hook one of the lights up, and it's not doing what I was hoping. It's not bright enough, but there's a few other things I can try to get rid of these shadows behind me. That's something I'm working on behind the scenes. And the next thing I've got to do is a lot more physically labor intensive. I've got to move this desk away from the wall so I'm not so close to it. So hopefully we'll get rid of those dark shadows. The other option would be to hang some very bright lights above me so it pushes the shadows down. But I'm not doing that. It's too, I have to walk around them, so that's not going to happen. A little something I'm working on there on the side. And Manuel Heiss says it's 27 degrees Celsius where he is. He's got the AC on because he's got 2 computers in the room. Yeah, the joy of having a lot of computers in one room. Think about an office and that added expense for the air conditioning. Kenny Allen joins us from South Carolina, says hello. Welcome in, Kenny. Right out of the gate, I want to remind you that our good friends over at VIP-URCDKEys is where I buy my Windows and Office license keys. And I always play this little video because I want to show you how to locate the keys, the links for the keys, how to use the discount code, and how the process works. So if you click on any of our past videos, like this one right here, this is a video from a few months ago. You scroll down, you see that first box right there. Click on the More, right where it says More, click on that, and then you'll see the entire video description open up. That has links for everything we talked about in the video, as well as these links for Windows 11, Windows 10, Office, etc. And then pick the one you want and click on it. If you don't use these links, you don't have to. It just may be difficult for you to find what you're looking for. They're just there for you. They're not for me. I don't make any commission on this. When you want to purchase a product key, you hit the Buy Now button. You have to have an account. If you don't have one, it's free to make one. Just use your email, make up a password. Once you've done that, you can then add it to your cart. But before you pay for it, apply this promotion code. My first name, Carey, C-A-R-E-Y, and hit apply. That'll take 25% off the price. If you don't do that, Well, try it and see what happens. You're going to pay 25% more. It's not a scam. It's not a gimmick. If you don't know, you pay more. After that, decide how you want to pay. Once that's completed, hit the pay now button and, you know, finish whatever the payment method the information required for that payment method, as you would make any other purchase anywhere on the internet. Once that's done, within 2 minutes, doesn't matter if it's a weekday, a holiday, a weekend, within about 2 minutes, you'll get an email confirming your purchase, along with a download link for the product. And the download link comes from Microsoft, as well as your activation key. I recommend you use it as soon as possible, only because if there's a problem, the longer you wait to report a problem, the more suspicious and scammy it looks. You know, the amount of scamming going on right now is the most the world's ever seen, like ever in the history of mankind. There's never been more scammers on the planet ever in the history of this planet. We're talking millions and millions of scammers. So the problem is we don't know the scammers that are pretending to be sellers, and the sellers don't know the scammers pretending to be buyers. Here in Arizona, for example, they've gotten so bold that there's a guy. He shows up in a big white pickup truck with a flatbed trailer towed behind it, and he goes to these landscaping companies and he buys like a few $1,000s worth of these cypress trees, claims to be a new landscaper, blah, blah, blah. He pays with a credit card, it gets authorized. These trees take, for a landscaper, a landscaping company, they take about 10 to 13 years to grow from a seed into a full-size cypress tree that you can then use for decorative or wind blocking purposes. They're pretty popular here around homes in the Phoenix area. And then a few days later, the credit card company reports, no, that shouldn't have been authorized. That's a stolen card. And, you know, that little mom and pop plant nursery just lost a month's worth of income. And if they were alone, you'd say, wow, that's bad luck. But no. Several of these nurseries, the same story. Guy shows up, same truck, same trailer, stolen card. They don't know. It gets approved. They help load all these cypress trees into his trailer. He drives off. What's he doing with them? Well, I'm sure time will bear that out. You don't know if he's reselling them. We don't know if he's got his own landscape company that he's using to add extra profit. He's taking food right out of his community's mouth. I mean, that's insane. It's one thing when a guy in China is trying to scam you in America, or a guy in India or Pakistan or Philippines or Myanmar. You know, these are some very common hot spots. Cambodia for foreigners to extract money from fat, rich Americans, because Americans are too stupid. If they're so stupid as to fall for our scam, this is their logic, they don't deserve to have the money. We deserve to have it. They don't feel bad about it. They feel like they're liberating money from stupid people. And unfortunately, people who haven't grown up with technology, they're just trusting, you know, this isn't the way the world used to be. So elderly people are much more susceptible to being scammed. They're more trusting. So we got to look out for each other. And the reason I present these Windows and Office keys to you is that if you do need a key, I don't want you to get scammed. I don't want you to go, well, this key is cheaper, and then you find out you got nothing, and you just lost all that money. Even if it's $6, right? You lost it. There's no getting it back in most cases. So if you just get a key from a reputable seller that isn't going to break the bank and is going to help you if you have any problems, don't expect it to be $6. Nobody's doing that work for free. So you do get what you pay for, and I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm making you aware that you have options. And sometimes the cheapest option is like throwing money down a toilet. It not only wastes your time and is frustrating and angering, you could have had the job done once and got on with your life if you would have bought from a reputable seller. Sometimes those cheapest prices are your red flags. I do know that if somebody wants to sell me a brand new car for half price, that ain't right. There's something going on. Could be a stolen car. Could be that car is actually a salvage title that's not even licensed to be on the road. I don't know, but the fact that they would just, for no apparent reason, be selling it that cheap should raise suspicion. The idea that people think they're getting a bargain, like it's too good to be true, you better take advantage of it before somebody else does. It's like saying, I better get ripped off before somebody else gets ripped off. So if you're doing it for your community, if you're saying, I'll take the hit for my community, God bless you. But if you actually believe that you're getting a good deal, I wish you the best, and I hope you are. But in my experience, it's only gotten worse. It's not getting better. And trying to figure out who the scammers are who are selling and who the scammers are that are buying, it's getting to the point where you have to make the purchase to find out. And in most cases, there's no solution. Those nurseries that were hit, they've got all kinds of camera footage. They have no idea who this guy is. They know he's local. They know he hits nurseries. They're letting other nurseries know. Let's hope with time he'll get, time will catch up with him. But when they're in another country and law enforcement in your country does not have any control over enforcing laws in other countries, they pretty much are gone for good. There's no recourse for you. It's very serious stuff. So just be careful out there. If you're curious, ask people in our chat room, if they have recommendations or any experience with any place you're looking or considering buying from. It's a good place to start. And including the Windows and Office license keys, ask people in the chat if they've used them before and what their thoughts were. But that's where I buy my Windows and Office keys, for my business, for my customers. I pay the same price. I use my coupon code. I'm just extending it to the audience. So with that, let's see. I guess I could start getting this unboxed here. I put everything away because we had a bunch of other projects to get to, and I didn't want to confuse which parts went where. So I always put things back. Well, when I don't put things back, you can usually tell because I get confused and I can't find things. It drives me crazy. So let's just go ahead and set this back up again and see where we left off. Little power brick. And we'll just clear this stuff out of the way again so we have some room to work. Put that down there. There we go. I leave this up just in case somebody's tuning in. They wonder what the heck we're doing. Also, I leave it up for me so I can tell what the heck I'm doing. I kid. All right, let's plug in the power supply here and get us all hooked up. So just take me 1 second. Sometimes I do this before the show. Sometimes I like to do it on camera so you can see everything's real, unscripted, unrehearsed. And if there's any issues with me plugging in a cable, it demonstrates sometimes people falsely blame a computer problem when it's really them, or in my case, me, who didn't plug a cable in all the way. There's nothing wrong with the computer. It's the end user that needs the repair or the correction. So, I'm not immune from it. It's not like it never happens to me. I mean, if you watch my videos, you know it happens more often than I would like, quite frankly. But I always double check myself before I go pointing any fingers anywhere else. I always look in the mirror and make sure, is this me? And I don't do a cursory look. I very strongly investigate that thoroughly before I move to blaming anyone else but me. All right, let's plug in internet since we've already got this configured from before with Windows and updates. And we'll turn it on here. Let's see. Okay, that's powering up. Let me go over to this video output here, which is, let's see. Should find it right there. Here we go. That should, yeah. That starts booting up into Windows. And in just a moment, we will be at the desktop. Manuel wants to know, do I have a mini PC addiction, or do you feel that a traditional desktop isn't needed anymore? It's a great question. There are many people, especially enthusiasts, people who are not working in IT, who make purchases based on emotions. They like it because it's cool. It's cool. Isn't that neat? Isn't it cool? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the way my business works. Like, nobody calls me. Like, seriously, never in the history of 35 years in this business Has anybody ever called me and said, do you have anything cool I can buy? Never happened. But yet, most of the people who watch this channel apparently do just that. They don't buy for any specific purpose other than, I want that. And when you dig down and say, well, why? Because I want it. Okay? So, you know, from my position, it's like, how can I help you? And they don't need any help. I guess they just, it's cool and I want to talk about it. Okay, but what are you going to use it for? What problem does it solve for you? How much money are you willing to spend on it? And it's like, who cares? I just want it. Okay, well, I guess we have nothing to talk about. Go buy it. What do you want from me? Traditionally, the way my business works is a customer has a need. They have something they're trying to fix or trying to accomplish. And there's a certain budget they have and a certain timeline they have. So let's say, for example, we'll take it to an extreme. Let's say a customer's phone lines go out. So you've got 20 employees who can't use a phone, can't take any customer calls, can't make any customer calls, and cannot conduct business over the phone. Do you understand? I'm sure you can just imagine how that would impede your ability to function as a company that way for very long. There's only so much you can do in email. You're not going to get in your car and drive to every customer and talk to them face to face. Or are you? Or are you going to tell your customers you got to come into the office and you'll have to tell them in an email? Or you're going to use your personal cell phone. And if you're the owner of the company, you probably wouldn't mind. But if you're an employee and the business owner says, use your personal cell phone to call our customers, you'd have every right to say, no, I'm not using my phone for that. I don't want my caller ID showing up on these people's phones. Are you out of your mind? I'm just an employee. You understand the pressure, right? You get it? How much is at stake? So a customer might call me in that circumstance and say, hey, listen, well, they'd call me on their cell phone, I guess. They'd say, we have our phone lines down. We need them back up. And depending on how old the phones are, you might have an opportunity to present the customer with other options to say, well, since they're down, you know, there's these new phones available that have all these new features. And for about the same cost of getting this up and running, we have these more secure phones available now that have all these new features. Do you see any value in that? And they'll say yes or no, or they'll ask follow-up questions. Ultimately, you know, what I need to know is, what is your budget? What is your goal? And when do you need it done by? So when it comes to like mini PCs, it basically is like saying, you know, if you go back 30 years, say, Carey, do you have a PC addiction, or do you just think computers are replacing pen and paper? I think it's a little of both. I do enjoy what I do for a living, right? That's the problem. I don't do this because I have to. I do it because I love it and I get paid. You couldn't ask for a better job than one you enjoy doing and get paid for. And if somebody says, no, we're going to continue using pen and paper, it's fine with me. You know, there's nothing I can do to help them. I don't sell pens or paper, so you need to talk to somebody else that sells office supplies. That's not me. If somebody says, you know, hey, I need my car fixed, I don't do that either. If I start riding my bicycle everywhere, does that mean I have a bicycle addiction? You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's whatever fits the situation. And with the RAM and storage issues going on, along with GPUs and heck, even CPUs, building desktop computers has never been more expensive. Even in the 1980s, the late 80s, early 90s, computers didn't cost as much. So what you could get for, you know, around $1,200 in 1989 is more than you could buy for $1,200 today. In other words, you could get the keyboard, the mouse, the speakers, the monitor, a black and white monitor, with a decent amount of RAM and storage for the operating system and the software we were using at that time. But to do that equivalent today would probably cost you more like $1,500 plus, depending on the size of the monitor, etc. As a result, people aren't buying, and I can't control what people buy. You know, they want to buy computers, they want to buy desktops, they want to buy laptops, they want to buy tablets, they want to buy phones, they want to buy mini PCs. My job is to present options. And right now, there really aren't any options to present. There's no new desktops. There's very few new laptops. And the laptops are far too expensive for us to purchase and review. So we could either shut the channel down and not make any videos, or we focus on what are the most affordable machines that you can buy today, given the RAM and storage issues. That can save you money in electricity, save you desk space, so you don't have to dust them out. And the number of computers that I repair anymore, it's few and far between. So the idea that these aren't as repairable is silly, because they don't really break. Those computers we were buying for $1,200 in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, those things, you know, they were kind of on training wheels. They're a little wobbly. But we've come a long way since then. And in most cases, these computers are cheaper to replace than to repair. So even if we could repair them, it financially wouldn't make any sense. You can always buy an extended warranty if that makes you feel better. That's usually available for sale. No matter where you buy the computer, almost everybody offers an extended warranty. So as long as you don't drop it, you don't physically break it. The number of computers we've seen, whether desktops, laptops, or mini PCs, that need repair are generally over 10 years old. Someone reached out to me recently and said, you know, I've got a laptop, I don't have time to fix it. Would you be interested in fixing it and make some content? The laptop's an 8th generation Intel. I'm not going to spend any time on that. It's past its prime, and well, it's still currently compatible for the amount of money and time, right? If you're doing it for fun and your time has no value, have fun. But it's sort of like, you know, understanding who you're talking to. So if you and your friends want to go play some football, have fun. But if you ask somebody who plays football for a living if they want to go out and play football for fun and not get paid for it, they probably want to save their energy, right? They don't want to injure themselves doing something stupid, just goofing off. They get a knee or ankle injury or something, they fall hard, and now they can't work, they can't earn a living. So understand who you're asking, right? Understand I'm a professional in the industry, and that's my main source of income. And I just turn on YouTube to share with you what the business is like, because very few people on YouTube are anything more than entertainers. And that's fine if you want entertainment. 98% of the content here on YouTube is entertainment. It's just silly, hearsay, nonsense, emotional, drama, silly. And then within about 2%, you have actual people working in the industry that share with you the industry, the insides. And the reason I focus on that is because I really could have used some help when I got started, and there wasn't anybody to learn from. So I don't want somebody to have to go through what I went through, figuring out everything the hard way. I want to share with people what I've learned. And I'm not the only one to do it, but there's very few people doing that. And part of that lesson is about accountability and responsibility, which as a home user, you don't have any of that. You can do whatever you want. Your consequences only affect you. If your phones go out and you can't call who you want, nobody cares. Nobody cares. So you probably figure that out on your own. You're probably not going to hire somebody. If not for people hiring me, this channel would not exist. So what you're getting from me is me going into the battle zone and me reporting back what the enemy's doing, how you need to prepare if you're going to go out there, and the kind of challenges we face when we're out in the battlefield. But you're at home watching it on TV. Now, that's okay. That's what it's for. But my purpose isn't for you to sit at home and watch it on TV. My purpose is to inspire you, if you're interested at this level, to watch it for entertainment. Why not take it to the next level and get paid to do what you love? Because that's what I'm doing. And so right now, mini PCs are the only thing regularly coming out with new models that are also affordable. Now, if you want to send us laptops to review, if you want to figure out how to do that, we would very much appreciate that. If you want to send us network routers, or, you know, you got to ask yourself, who's paying for this, right? The memberships enable us to buy many of the products you see here, including this. But with membership money, we can buy about 3 of these a month, maybe 4. That's it. And as you well know, I make a lot more than 3 or 4 videos a month. How does that work? Like, how would you do it if you were me? If you're making a video Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, that's 4 videos a week. And each video you're going to review something. Everything costs money. Where's the money going to come from? And YouTube is paying less now than they did when I first started. So when I first started in 2008, 2009, I got my first check. It was paying more per video than they are now. So it's fading out, and eventually it'll be 0. And it'll be up to the content creators to find sponsors or corporate backing, some kind of financier, or just to have fun, right? Just to say, I'm going to make a video. A lot of people who do that, and they make 1 video a week or 1 video every 2 weeks. That's all you get, because they can't afford to make any more than that. They have to take care of their family, and they have to go to work, and they got to take care of things around the house, and you know, try it. I encourage everybody to try it. I think it's a lot of fun, but it does start to get expensive if you want to start doing it full time. But that's true of anything. You know, if you want to go fishing once a year, that's very different than going fishing every week, or skiing, or boating. Everything's water related because it's hot. If you want to, whatever it is you want to do, right, somebody's paying for it. And if you're going to do it over and over and over again because you want to have consistent content in order to get viewers and subscribers, somebody's spending the money. Somebody has to invest in you. And you could be investing in yourself, but you're going to have to figure that out. That's the joy of being self-employed. So there are content creators that make content and don't make any money, or maybe they make $100 or $200 a month. You can't live off of that. So you can't spend too much time away from money-making opportunities, or you're just going to be homeless, and you definitely won't have a YouTube channel then, for sure. So that's what I do, and the industry is changing. We did our first mini PC. It was an Intel NUC. It was an i3. That was 2013, and it was interesting. And I speculated, I wonder if this will replace the desktop. What I could not have anticipated was why. Sure, they're smaller, they use less power, they're less expensive. We already knew that. We did not foresee the RAM and storage issues. So if you want to, you can just go without. You can just use your phone, right? But if you want a computer today, this is the most affordable computer you can buy. Therefore, these are selling like hotcakes to both businesses and consumers. And that's why we're covering them. When the consumer interest falls to something else, we'll be covering that. But make sure, you know, one message is clear. We're giving people what they want. This is what people want right now. And I speculate those are the reasons. People may have different reasons. But most people, they want that big tower with all the RGB and the lights, right? Most home users. I challenge you to walk into any legitimate corporate office and find any computer with a glass panel or RGB lights or liquid cooling. I would challenge you to find an IT department that has the material necessary, the tools and materials to change thermal paste. It only exists online. It only exists in the enthusiast community. It does not exist, except there's probably a few exceptions. But in my experience, never, not once, were we ever authorized to replace thermal compound, nor were we given the tools such as thermal compound. It did not exist. So if you wanted to pay for it and bring it in from home, you'd probably get fired, or at the very least, chewed out. There's a very different world. And my job is to bridge the world of working to the world of staying at home when it comes to computers, and to share some considerations and perspectives that if you don't work in the field, you probably don't know any better. And the best thing you can do if you're really interested, if you're that much into it, is go get a job in IT in a corporate environment, and your knowledge will expand so much faster than whatever you think you're learning on YouTube. And you'll be held accountable to it. You're going to be graded on it, just like in school with a teacher. And if you flunk, if you can't pass the test after the year of school, guess what? You're going to repeat that year. Well, in the world of working, that's what we would that's the equivalent rather to like, am I going to get a raise? Am I going to be fired? Am I going to be promoted? Well, let's review your year and see how you've done. When you sit at home and you review yourself, it's kind of silly, isn't it? Like a child pretending, I'm a fireman, I'm a cowboy. You know, let's be adults and realize when we're just kind of goofing off versus people who are actually going to work and have to be there. When I worked at Intel, I was the only laptop repair person for the entire campus in Intel in Arizona. There was nobody else, just me. Who do you think was fixing laptops if I didn't show up to work that day? Nobody. So even if I wasn't feeling well, I felt the pressure. I said, oh, I have to go to work regardless. There's people counting on me. They're counting on me to be there. I love that feeling, by the way. If anybody could just do what I'm doing, why bother to go at all? That's my feeling. If my job is to pump gas, anybody can pump gas. If I don't show up today, it's not like people are going to go without gas. So I intentionally sought those positions in the companies I worked for that nobody else did. My very first job, I was promoted into a, they decided to open a retail location in the corner of the factory store. They put a factory store in the factory, and they hired salesmen specifically to work, because most of the computers we sold were sold a Computer Shopper magazine, people would call in. Most of the salesmen were in a call center. But the retail salesmen, I think we had 2 or 3, and then they had 1 tech, and my job was to build the computers. The warehouse didn't build them. My job was to repair, upgrade, do anything that the local customers that brought their computers in would need. There was nobody to back me up. If I called in sick, the work sat until I came in. That's it. When I went to Intel, when I went to the power company, laptops. Nobody else did. I was the only one. That's it. And I liked it that way. I wanted to protect that. So if they wanted me to train somebody to be my backup, I didn't do it. I offered if they wanted to pay me more, I would train, but my knowledge is not part of our employment. And, you know, they don't like that. And I said, well, I don't like it either. I don't want to train my replacement. So at both places, when they wanted me to train somebody, I knew the reason they wanted it. They wanted to get rid of me. So I wasn't going to help them unless they paid me extra for that. And they never did. They said, no, you're just expected to do it. And well, you can expect it. You can't make me give up my hard-earned knowledge and pass that on to my replacement. You got to be out of your mind. And so what they ended up having to do is replacing me with somebody that needed to be trained. And I don't know how they did that. I really have no idea. But I imagine it wasn't smooth. But that's not my problem, right? It's not my company, and I just, in most cases, went out and found a better paying job that wasn't as far away, and always worked out in my benefit. Even though I was sad to leave, the place that I then, was the next job was always closer to my house. It wasn't as long of a drive, and it always paid better. And had they not done me the favor, I might still be working there for pennies today. So, FYI. Yikes, Ron Barnish says he had to get a blood transfusion last Friday. Well, thank goodness for modern medicine, Ron. What would they have done 150 years ago? So we're glad that you're hanging in there and that you're seeking the medical attention. Some men ignore things, you know what I mean? So we're glad that you're having that looked after and taking care of yourself. And And we're always happy to see you joining us in our chat room, and I hope you'll continue to do that for years and years, my friend. Wish you well. Dazzle555 says hello. Tony Aindow says hello. And Elijah52 Dickens joins us and says hello. Apparently there's a game on. I don't know. David Graham said, I used to build business PCs. They're boring. We called them white boxes. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, you might find it boring. I loved it. So, you know, to each their own. Let's see. Just try to catch up with your comments here. So, anyway, yeah, I think we're caught up there. I'm trying to remember where we left off with this. Let me open up YouTube here and take a look at our part 1 to this. Just a second. I just need to skip through it because I think we didn't do some of the testing. I think we opened it up, didn't we? Let me just double check. These shows are live and unscripted, and we have so many different videos every week that it's hard for me to remember which one was which. Let's see. Let me go look at my own content. And we did this part 1. When did we do this? We did this originally. June 5th. And yeah, that's it. And I'm gonna just skip through the video here. I think it appears I reinstalled Windows on it for some reason. And then we went to test if drivers were available and put the AMD Adrenalin on there. Yeah. So we put our own clean install of Windows, and I'd have to go back and watch the video to figure out why we did that. I don't remember. Because it should have had Windows already on it. I did open it up and show you guys the inside of it. And it appears we never ran any benchmarks. All right, so that's where we're at right now. So let me pause that and let's come back over here. Now, if I go to this desktop, I should see benchmark results. So the benchmarks can take a couple hours to run. It's kind of a, as you well know, kind of a boring thing to watch. I really feel bad for those channels that'll spend a week testing a computer and then editing all the results and then putting it all together. It's a week of their life to make a 25-minute video that you guys will fast forward through. It's sort of like an author works for 3 years on a book that you read in 2 days. You know, J.K. Rowling will write the next Harry Potter book. It'll take her 3 years. The day it's released, people are writing reviews. They've already finished it. They consume it way, way, way faster. And I'm not sure people really understand how much time and effort and work went into creating something that they... Imagine this fancy 5-star meal and the chef has been preparing it for, you know, they could be aging the steaks for a month and you just sat down and ate it and you went, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, do you understand what you just ate? Do you understand? Like, I hope you chewed every bite and savored the flavor, because that was an immense amount of effort to get that meal on the plate versus just throwing something in a microwave and it's consumed the same. There is a huge difference. I can't imagine spending a week on one video for what YouTube pays. Spending, you know, 20, 30 hours on a 20-minute video, 30-minute video. That's what some content creators do. Some people love editing. Some people love, you know, making the process of making the video. I like teaching and sharing experiences through video because it's faster than publishing books. I can get the information to you much faster. And if I spend time editing, then I can't make any new content. I can't do both things at the same time. So me personally, I'd rather keep producing new content and we just do it without edits. And that way, you, the viewer, have way more variety of things you're interested in. If we cover different things here, from motherboards and upgrades, repairs, new machines, laptops, routers, networking, Wi-Fi, etc., external storage and NASs. That way there's a little something for everybody, and it's not really intended for every video to be for everyone, but it's great if it is. I wouldn't complain. I just don't expect it. So we try to vary our content here as much as possible so we don't alienate any group of people. And lately, you know, it's been mostly just mini PCs. We have some KVMs coming in. It'll be fun to evaluate those just for something different. But let me bring up the desktop here and see. You should have some screenshots of the benchmarks. Ah, yes, this explains everything now that I can see it. What we see here is Cinebench in balanced power mode, Cinebench in performance power mode. These are settings in the BIOS, and Cinebench in quiet mode. So let's bring these up. This is when you set it to quiet, it's going to use lower power. The fans will be much quieter because the machine won't get as hot. It will use less power to run. And you can see we saw a maximum temp of 88 degrees Celsius, and then our scores in quiet mode will also be, they should be the lowest scores that this machine can run at. So it, you know, it all comes at a price. This is a 20-minute test, and all you got to see was the end result. It's like skipping to the last page of a book and you didn't read the book. So you got right to the end of the book and you're kind of cheating. This is the SSD that's in there, by the way. I accidentally just brought that up. It's a AirDisk 512 gig solid state drive. You know what? Let's just keep cycling through. Is it going to let me keep cycling? Maybe not. Go back over to the desktop because I am trying to focus just on Cinebench. Let's see. There we go. There we go. All right, so with the quiet mode, one more time, I'll try this again. 11,110 and 88 degrees, all right? That's what I wanted to get out of that. Then in the balanced mode, slightly higher score at 11,553, probably a slightly higher temperature. It looks like pretty much the same, 88 degrees. Okay, and then in the performance mode, which is going to be potentially the loudest of the fans and the hottest temperatures, score should be a little higher at 11,837, and the temp should be a little higher. Now notice the temps are not really changing. And I'm noticing this on some mini PCs where I would normally say leave it alone, leave it in balance mode, but these are so quiet. I am making an exception, you know, judging each machine on its own merit. I would leave this in performance mode because there doesn't seem to be a downside like higher temps, but there's definitely an upside with regards to higher benchmarking scores. It's doing the work faster. Not night and day faster, but enough to make it worthwhile to push a button. That's all you're doing is pushing a button in the BIOS to go to performance mode. It's free. It's going to eat up a little bit more electricity, but not by much. It's not like you're probably even going to notice a difference. So I would leave this in performance mode. The AirDisk, the SSD, we'll go back to that for a second. You can see it's brand new. It's only been powered on 17 times, and we did the majority of that in our testing. It's only been on for 3 total hours. This is like a little odometer. And if I close this out and take a look at how the benchmarks on this run, it's not going to be the fastest drive. This looks like it's Gen 3, which makes sense to be at this price point. You're at 3,561 on your sequential reads and 2,519 on your sequential writes. Why am I not whining and crying like the enthusiast that it's not fast enough? because most end users and the enthusiasts can't keep up with that demand. Most enthusiasts and end users are the slowest part of the computer, and we cannot upgrade them. So they're chasing these benchmarks meaninglessly and spending money endlessly just because they're looking at numbers on a screen. And those numbers might be lying to you. Right? You should be skeptical of any benchmarks. Benchmarks historically have been proven to favor some manufacturers with backroom deals. And you can Google that to learn more about it, where they were giving higher scores to certain manufacturers that were sponsoring them and paying for the development of their software. And when that gets exposed, it's amazing how shocked people are. I don't wait for it to get exposed. I just assume these numbers are just for entertainment purposes. They're there to give you an idea, but they're not the end-all be-all 100% truth. And there's no way for you to really know. How a computer performs is based on how the person using it feels about it. And I don't mean by reading benchmarks. I mean by actually using the computer. It's like you want to tell me how much you like your car when you've never driven it. You had somebody else drive it, and then they told you, oh yeah, the car is good. Oh yeah, your car has X amount of horsepower. Oh yeah, your car's going to get this many miles per gallon. Oh yeah, the car is really comfortable, but you've never driven it. You're just listening to somebody report. And you may not agree. You may find that the car's gas mileage is terrible, that the horsepower, despite claiming it has 500 horsepower, feels like 150, and that it's uncomfortable to you. How does it feel? And the enthusiast community has lost all sense of feeling. It's like everybody's on oxycodone or something. They're living in a numb world based on numbers that are meaningless. So in the business world, we don't focus too much about drive performance. Overall, it's you bring an employee in and you say, how come you haven't been performing as good lately? How come you haven't produced as much end results in your work? And if that employee says, well, I'm waiting on the computer, it's not me. I'm telling the computer to do something and I have to sit there. You're probably going to get a better computer, right? And then with the better computer, if your results don't improve, they know you're lying. So on your next review, despite having a more powerful computer, if you try using that same excuse again, you probably at the least aren't going to get a promotion, right? They're probably just going to say, well, your performance compared to your coworkers isn't up to par. So you need to potentially, if you're lucky, they'll say, we'll give you a chance to fix that. But we're not giving you another computer now because you've got a better computer than your coworkers and they don't have these problems that you're claiming to have. So now the boss starts thinking the problem is the employee, not the computer. A lot of people do this stuff. As far as the Wi-Fi and networking goes, this has an Intel Wi-Fi 6E. It's an AX210 Wi-Fi and Bluetooth adapter. And it has two Realtek 2.5 gig Ethernet controllers in it. Now, when we look at the product page for this BOSGAME, let's go back over to camera 1 for a second. And then let's go to the product page. And again, down below, like I showed earlier with the Windows and Office links, there'll be links to what we're reviewing. And this is the BOSGAME P3 Mix. They make a couple different P3s. Mix is the model. P3 Mix. It's not the same. So let's go to Amazon and see what these are selling for. Let me bring that page up. You can join along with me by simply clicking the link in our video notes. Probably helps if I use the right buttons. Let me try that again. Come over here and paste that. You guys, you don't need to copy and paste. You just click. All right, we're looking at a machine. It looks like, trying to remember what we paid for it. I don't think we paid this much. I think the price might have gone up. I have to go back and look at the receipts. But regardless of that, it's still, I think, a recommended buy for me because at $439, you're getting a Ryzen 7640HS, which will crank up to 5 gigahertz speed. It comes with 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM already installed and 512 gig of NVMe Gen 3 storage. It'll support 3 displays at the same time. 3 monitors can be operated off of this simultaneously. It has USB 4, which I think is a feature more and more I'm looking for, even though I don't have any customers yet that require USB 4. The dual 2.5 gig LAN, I don't care if it's dual, but I do like that it's 2.5 gig LAN. Once again, I don't have any business customers that have 2.5 gig networking. Not a single one. But it's nice that it's ready, because I feel like it's not that far away. It's getting cheaper and cheaper. But as long as their network is working, their switch and their router is working, there's no reason to upgrade it. But if and when their router or switch burns out or needs to be replaced, they will likely go to 2.5 gig and the computers will already be ready. So it'll make that upgrade much more palatable. So $439, and it does support Ubuntu and Linux if you're into that. With Amazon, you have 30 days to return it for any reason. Even I changed my mind, doesn't matter. Amazon doesn't care what your reason is. Just return everything back in the original box. In most cases, you don't need the shipping box. You don't need to pack it. Just put it back, put the product and all of the accessories back in the product box, and the returns are free. At least they are for Amazon Prime members. In fact, Amazon Prime members can get this. If you ordered it today, if I ordered it today, I'd get it Friday. Remember, Father's Day is this Sunday, right? So they're kind of reminding you that could be a good Father's Day gift. A little bit more on the specs are here, and in the warranty is just a 1-year warranty. That's it. But when you purchase this from Amazon, you can buy an optional extended warranty. There's a 3-year protection plan for additional $58. That's up to you if you think it's worth it. I don't know. I mean, if I think anything's under $1,000, it's probably not worth buying a warranty or extended warranty for. But that's for you to decide, not me. And Amazon's recommending this Geekom A5 as a considerable alternative. But we stopped buying and we stopped recommending Geekom because they demonstrated some questionable marketing practices of deception to their customers. And well, they asked us to join them in their deception. We said we would not do that, and they said that they respected us and our integrity and then stopped talking to us. I don't want to work with people like that. So this probably is a decent computer. It's got a great warranty, and it's a few dollars cheaper. But the people running the company have demonstrated a behavior that we simply cannot condone, and we don't want to participate in their deceptions. It's difficult to say if what they're doing is illegal or not. That is not my job to enforce the law. But if it doesn't sit right with me ethically or morally, if the product is too expensive, if the product is poorly built, if the product has no actual warranty, like they can write they have a 100-year warranty. They could write that down. The question is, who's actually trying that warranty out to verify that they're not lying? Now, in my opinion, I think Geekom, as far as I know, they have good support and good warranty. It's their marketing team that I take issue with. That marketing so willingly asking people to openly participate and to pay money quietly under the table to deceive the viewers into thinking that, hey, you know, Geekom's my #1 choice, without really disclosing that Geekom paid me to say that. I don't know how you tell me how you feel about that. And would you want to buy a product at any price from a company that exercises that type of business morals? Because I don't. So for me personally, I have no desire to showcase any of their products. I don't care what the price is. That's how strongly I feel about that. Now, if they would have, you know, they said they'd reach back out. They said they understood and they respected my decision and that they'd reach back out. They never did reach back out. So they lied to me. They've ghosted me. And I think we're in agreement that we want nothing to do with each other. And that's okay. That's why you have choices. But you know who didn't do that? You know who didn't offer to bribe me? literally every PC you see on the counter. Because if they did, you wouldn't be seeing it on my channel. And I'm going to tell you about it. I'm not going to hide that. If I were to take that deal, why is my screen not coming up here? Hold on a second. I'm having an OBS issue here. HDMI3. Oh, I see what I did. We clicked the wrong button. If I were to take that deal, why would I tell you about it? Right? Well, if I was just your average content creator having fun, why wouldn't I take the money? I got nothing on the line. What do I care? If I'm lying to you, what's the repercussion? If I say this is my #1 choice of all mini PCs, this is the one I would buy, and I'm lying, and I know I'm lying in order to cash a check, it's not illegal. So you're the one getting played, and I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't like getting played. I don't like being suckered, lied to, disrespected, manipulated. No matter how good the bargain may seem, I don't want to give them my money. I'd rather spend $25 more or $30 more and go with BOSGAME with less of a warranty. And I'll tell you something else. When I owned a Hyundai, it had a 10-year warranty on it. And that car went in for more warranty work than any other car I've ever owned. And when I bought my Mustang, it had a 3-year warranty. It never once went in for any work. In 8 years, it never broke. Nothing had to go to the dealer, just oil changes, tire rotations. I put tires on it eventually. I never changed the brakes. Nothing ever broke. So you can't help but wonder, at least me, when a manufacturer is offering a long warranty, does that mean the manufacturer is confident their product doesn't need it? Or does that mean the manufacturer is confident the product will need it? Because in my anecdotal experience, if that Mustang had an 8-year or a 10-year warranty, I never needed it regardless. If it had no warranty, if I bought that Mustang with 0 warranty, it would have made no difference. It never needed any warranty work. But the Hyundai with the 10-year warranty, it would go in for warranty work approximately once a month. I felt like I should be getting paid by Hyundai to work there. So, and I won't even talk about the level of service, the incompetence, the disrespect, being ignored when I pull into the service bay and there's nobody to greet me. I have to get out of the car and walk into the dealership and say, is anybody working today? I've been sitting out here. Am I supposed to leave and abandon the car? Normally, when you pull a car in for service, you're greeted by a service person, a service advisor. Not at my local dealership, once in a while. But sometimes you pull up just empty. Is this a holiday? Are they closed? You know, how long do I wait? Should I just get out and go find somebody myself? Do I work here? The car was also one of the cheapest new cars I ever bought. I wonder if these things could be connected. Cheapest, longest warranty, needed more repair than any other car I've ever owned, and had to do a lot of things on my own, like just find somebody to help me. It's like I was invisible. Am I a ghost car? Can they not see me? Hello? I know they have security cameras. Nobody? Bueller? Guess how many Hyundais and Kias I will ever own again for the rest of my existence. You want to take a guess? If the Ford or the Chevy or the Nissan or the Toyota costs a little bit more, money well spent. My time has value. I got other things to do. I keep taking the car back to the dealer, back to the dealer, back to the dealer, find a ride home, then have to find a ride back, or they have to pick me up, have to sit around and wait around all day. Then they don't fix it right. I got to bring it back again and repeat this over and over and over again. At some point, when do you have enough? At what point do you say that has crossed the line? That's for each of us to decide on our own. Now, I'm sure there are people that bought Hyundais, never had a problem. I don't know what you're talking about. They probably have a better dealership than I do. They take care of them. I'm happy for you. It doesn't change what happened to me, man. So, all right, let's see. Overall, do I recommend it? Yeah, absolutely. I do recommend this. In fact, this unit here, our good friend Mark Leibowitz, who runs a computer repair shop out of Chicago, he sells the crap out of these little very value-oriented mini PCs. And he said, yeah, let me see your initial review, because he's going to judge it. He doesn't care what I think. Well, he does, but if he's going to sell it to a customer, he's going to be held accountable for it. And after seeing part one, he reached out and said, I'd like to buy it if you want to sell it. I said, yeah, I'd like to sell it because I'd like to take the money and we can use that to go buy something else. I don't have any use for it once the review's done. My only purpose here is to say, would I recommend it? And as you well know, if you've been watching this channel, I'm directly honest with that. Probably most of the mini PCs I do recommend. If I thought I wasn't going to recommend it, it never would have been on the bench. That's why more PCs are recommended than not. The ones I wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't buy. So at the very least, when I made the decision to purchase this, which I think, I don't know if Andy or Mark, someone brought this to my attention. I wasn't even aware of it. So the viewer brought it to my attention and the viewer bought it. We're still going to lose money on it, right? We're not going to sell it for what we paid for it. In addition, we got to pay to ship it. And I'm not going to turn around and just return it to Amazon for free because I made a profit from it by making content, unless it deserves to be sent back. I'm not going to manipulate and scam Amazon. But make no mistake, if a product is crap, I will return it to Amazon and get my money back. And if a product is recommended, then I'll sell it instead, take a financial loss. And that's how this channel financially is working right now, just in case you're wondering. And then, of course, your memberships and contributions. That's pretty much the only source of income the channel has. So I'm going to make a little bit of money promoting those Windows and Office keys, but it's not commission-based. So if you buy it or you don't buy it, there's no high-pressure sales from me. One thing I can promise you, though, is peace of mind that you're not going to get ripped off. And if you have any issues with any product we've shown or anything that I've recommended, I want you to tell me about it. I want to know what happened. If I find out a bunch of people are having bad experiences, you're never going to see that product on this channel again. I'm looking out for you first and foremost. No differently than I look out for my customers. I'm not looking out for BOSGAME. But if BOSGAME's doing a good job, or if VIP-URCDKEY is doing a good job, but the average public has never heard of them before, I really feel like they deserve attention. They don't have the big marketing budgets of Dell and HP and Lenovo. So my goal here is just to make product introductions to the audience and let the audience decide for themselves. But if you guys have any questions about this that we haven't covered, I'd be more than happy to address any questions. Let me get back over to the chat room. I think on this one, we didn't even need any drivers. Basically, any drivers we needed were provided from Windows Update and the AMD Adrenalin software. That's all everything pretty much auto-populated. I think I might have needed, I'm trying to remember, that little USB to Ethernet adapter to get the network card drivers. But you could always just hook it up to Wi-Fi. I'm pretty sure one or the other was auto-loaded with Windows. Once we're able to get online, everything but the AMD Adrenalin software came over from Windows Update. The machine auto-activated. We did not have to put in a product key, and we did not have to push any buttons. It just did it all by itself. We did not have to sign into Microsoft for that to happen. We've seen this case design before. This is nothing new here. Just the internal components have been slightly modified. So it's an easy case to work on. It's reasonably expandable. It's selling for a very good price. I mean, just look at what ASUS would charge you for this. You know why you're not seeing ASUS products on this channel? Not because they're a bad company. They're just in another world in pricing. I don't know who those products are for. It's sort of like they're selling, ASUS, in my opinion, is selling the equivalents, but for several, well, I don't want to say several $100s more, but for a significantly higher profit margin or a higher price point. And I don't think you need to spend that much to get the same product from a company you never heard of versus one that has a tax on their brand name. Asus has a very high tax because they put the name Asus on it. And they make good products. It's not that I don't like their products. I just think that this BOSGAME is just as good for significantly less money. That's all. So why would I spend more if I didn't have to? Out of loyalty? Does that loyalty return to me? If not, you're going to have a hard time getting loyalty out of me if you're not loyal back to me. And none of these corporations are loyal to their customers. Not a single one of them. So if you as a customer choose to be loyal to a brand, that's your emotional decision. And they're not sending you birthday cards. They're not checking in. They're not a friend. They're there to run a business. And if you think that you are their friend, they're not going to discourage that. But they're not your friend. So, each their own on that one. But I like to have an equal relationship. If you're just in business to sell computers, then I'm just in business to buy them. And if you're trying to make the highest profit, so am I. I want the best deal. And if we can negotiate that where we both are happy, there's no friendship involved in that. I'm not doing them any favors. They're not doing me any favors. It's a business. It's a transaction. And if we're both happy with the transaction, that's wonderful. And if we can do that again, great. But if for some reason they're not as negotiable in the future, I don't feel any guilt ghosting them and going to their competitors if their competitor's making a better deal. Just like they would do the same back to me. That's the reality of being in business. They're not a charity. They're not there for counseling. They're there to make a profit. So long as they're offering good value for the money, I'll keep coming back to the trough. Andy said Mark brought up the A-Dreamer, and Andy's the one who bought that. And Andy brought up the BOSGAME, and Mark is the one who bought this. Okay, thank you, Andy. That clarifies it. Now I remember. That sounds exactly right. That's funny. And A-Dreamer was probably, a good machine. It's just there's no support. The company won't respond to any of our emails. Despite saying they have 24/7 support, they say it, but they don't do it. And you wouldn't know any better if you didn't try. And that's a problem I have with a lot of YouTube reviewers, is they'll just spout off what the company says. So the company says, we have a 3-year warranty. Okay, but if I have to send the machine in for warranty, do I have to send it out of the country? Ask the content creators. If I have to send this machine in for warranty, do I need to send it out of the country? When the content creator says they have 24/7 tech support, did you try it? Did they respond to you? How long did it take for them to ask the content? Leave your questions in their comments. Call the content creators on their nonsense. Are they just reading a book to you, or are they talking from experience? I want to know the truth. Well, I don't know. I just ran benchmarks on it, and these are the benchmark numbers. Okay, but it's my money. It's not your money. So who are you doing this for? Are you doing this for me, or are you doing this for you? In most cases, they're doing it for themselves. Because they honestly were looking out for you, you wouldn't need to ask these questions, would you? Pay attention to what these content creators aren't telling you. And if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it, but just at least be aware of it. They're not trying support. They're not asking about verifying the claims the manufacturer's making. They're just repeating them mindlessly. It's entertainment. That's all. And if you ask them, they'll probably admit it. I'm an entertainer. I'm not a tech. But if you don't ask them, they often don't volunteer that. So just keep in mind who you want to put your trust in, or who you want to be entertained by. Okay, that's your choice. I don't have a dog in the race. I'm just explaining. I don't do that. And if I don't point it out, it may not be obvious to some of you. I mean, everybody in green already knows this, I'm sure. But for everybody else, And I'm not the only one, but folks like me are few and far between. I think that Cyber CPU Tech and Ask Your Computer Guy, Doug Betts, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. There's a few other really good guys out there, but they're not the biggest channels. The ones you should be the most leery of are the ones that have, you know, 1 million plus subscribers. Because at that point, with that many subscribers, you're running a business. You're not really, you're running an entertainment business, is what I'm trying to get at. Anybody running a legitimate business and they make YouTube videos about their business, they're not going to get 1 million subscribers. I mean, not in the computer world anyway, maybe in sports or something. But like if you look at, let's take some examples. Does BOSGAME have a YouTube channel? You probably don't even know. I don't even know. Let's go look and see. Just to prove a point, let's go to my desktop over here. Let me share the screen with you. Here we go. And let's look for, let's see, BOSGAME YouTube. Look at this. They have a YouTube channel, and look how many subscribers they have. Okay, but let's go find an entertainment channel where they talk about tech as though they were technicians, and you'll frequently see 1 million plus subscribers. That's your first clue as far as I'm concerned. If you look at the channels I follow, you'll see Live Windows Training with Doug Betts over here. This guy Jeff Tech has a sub channel. He's talking about the difficulties he's having starting a YouTube channel, what his challenges are, and his frustrations. This is all real stuff, which is also entertainment, but it has educational value. This company here, Delivered, this guy buys cars for people. It's a service to do the negotiations for you, and it records, or it doesn't record, he airs these negotiations live on the internet with real dealers and real deals, and exposes their lies and manipulations while they're happening live. So, you know, I live and breathe what I'm speaking. It's not there for entertainment purposes. This is who I am. If I want to go be entertained, all right, there's plenty of YouTube channels I like that are entertainment. But when it's disguised as technical content, when it's really entertainment, that's where I get a little frazzled, you know, a little irritated. I wish it would say for entertainment purposes only. I wish it was a law that they had to disclose that on the video. But in the meantime, just be aware of what you're watching and why it's being made. All right, some people just want to be content creators because they just want to be famous. I don't get that. It's some kind of a personality quirk that they just want people to know who they are. I would rather people didn't know who I am, quite frankly, but I'll still use my real name and I'll still show my face. Because if I won't show my face or I won't say my real name, and I think you should respect my opinion, I think that's close to insanity. I'm asking you to trust me, but I don't trust you enough to show my face, and I don't trust you enough to tell you my real name. But I expect you to trust me. That's entertainment. Right away, that's entertainment. So that's one clue you can go off of if you're, sometimes it's confusing. Am I watching real tech channel or am I watching entertainment? If somebody's willing to give you their real name and show their face, more than likely, it's either a very upstanding entertainer or a real technician making videos. Even then, it's still not clear, but I can tell you immediately, if they're not willing to show their face, and if they're not willing to say their real name, I don't believe anything they say is anything. And they can say whatever they want. They could say they're 10 feet tall. I don't care. If they are really 10 feet tall, show me. Prove it. Show me your face. Tell me your name. Let me Google you. Let me look at your history. Let's see if we can then validate every claim you're making. But without that information, you're just taking their word for it. And the angrier they get, that you say, if you say to them, if you won't show me your face and you won't tell me your name, then I can't trust you. The angrier their response is the fact that they don't like that you've just pointed out something that kind of calls them out If on the other hand they go, okay, here's my real name and here's my face, which none of them will do, by the way. None of them will do this. If they did do that, they would earn my respect. But until then, I don't respect that. That's just entertainment. Regardless, that's entertainment. All right, let's get back over to the chat here just to see if there's other questions I can answer for you guys. Andy mentions the A-Dreamer. All you're going to get is an Amazon 30-day return. Yeah, that's true of a lot of mini PC models, especially the lower priced ones. If they're not going to have a warranty they're going to honor, then you don't have to pay any employees to deal with it, right? You're not paying those employees, then to earn the same amount of money, you could charge less. And if you charge less, there's a better chance the consumer will choose yours over your competitors. Consumers are funny that way. Consumers sit there and they'll sit there and they'll tell you what they want. I want this, I want a warranty, I want this price. And you offer it, and some will buy it. Most who say that that's what they want don't actually do what they say. They still go and buy the cheap thing. Oh, you shouldn't eat at McDonald's, it's not good for you, it's too expensive. And you go to McDonald's and there's a line of cars around the building, and there's a line inside the building of people getting food. You've got to know some of those people in line are the very people saying you shouldn't eat there, it's not good for you. So they're hypocrites. They're looking for social credit by saying things that they think are politically correct, but then what they're doing privately is they're doing it anyway. And they're just living two lives. That's probably the most common thing I see in America. People that say one thing and do something else. There's an interesting documentary about MTV, and I was fascinated by it. People said, you know, I want my MTV, I want to watch music videos. Do you know MTV just lost money playing music videos? And MTV didn't pay for the videos. The artists paid for those videos to be made, produced. You know, they paid for all of it. Michael Jackson paid for every video, or his record company paid for those videos. They gave those videos to MTV for free. And MTV could not make money. They lost $50 million in the first year. So people said that's what they wanted, but that's what we gave them. They, you know, watch 5 minutes and walk away. But when MTV would play Jersey Shore or Beavis and Butthead, the money started pouring in. So the viewers said, we want our MTV, we want our music videos. But they wouldn't stick around. They would just watch one video or something and walk away. There was no retention there. There was nothing to sell to them because they'd leave the room. But the minute they produced nonsense, like Beavis and Butthead and Jersey Shore, or ridiculousness, those were cash cows. Cash cows. Money was pouring in. And that was paying for the music videos. And eventually MTV said, okay, you guys say this is what you want, but this is what you're doing. And year after year, it was never changed. It was always the same. And MTV said, that's it. We're done with the music videos. We're not a charity. And, you know, here we are. So what people say they're going to go into the store and buy versus auditing their shopping cart when they walk out of the store are quite often two opposing things. With a little bit of overlap, people might talk about, oh, it's important to eat healthy and organic as they're going into the grocery store. But when they come out of the grocery store, they got Doritos and ice cream and cookies. And there'll always be some excuse, right? There'll always be some sort of dismissal of it when there was no such dismissal. Going into the store, they were very strict. Coming out of the store, like, well, you know, you got to give a little bit. No, you should have said that. You should have said that from the get-go. And instead, you appear to be a liar. You appear to be somebody who can't be trusted. So that's the way I see it anyway. So what people say, nonsense. What people do, that's important. What benchmarks say on a test is one thing, but how somebody actually uses the computer and how they feel about that computer. Does it feel fast? Does it feel slow? Does it seem loud? How do you feel? Can anybody name a piece of software that can tell me that? Because that's the benchmark I want to run. And that's why I ask you guys, if you have any experience with these products, please share them in our comments. I don't want you to tell me what somebody on Reddit said. These people are nuts. You can't tell the sane people from the insane people online. I had a problem with the computer. Oh, the one you spilled a drink on? You know what I mean? Like, duh. Oh, they didn't leave that part into their story. They took it out. Yeah, they wouldn't honor my warranty. Gee, if you'd have told the truth, then your story would make more sense. But they don't want to do that. In many cases, they just want to lie. And they want to punish the company for not replacing something they damaged by encouraging people not to buy from the company. I mean, we're living in a world today where people just say things regardless of any truth. People are very quick to make claims that are completely baseless and only in their single imagination, and then to announce it to the world. Well, you could give them the same in return. If you want to play that game, it's stupid. It's like children. My dad could beat up your dad. Okay, sure, why not? Anyway, just be aware. The internet is not the same as reality, and I don't think it ever will be. And we all know some people in reality that are a little bit, some people will say that about me, but it's very important for me to have authenticity and truth. This is how I was raised. It has value to me. I don't really care if you drive a BMW or a Jaguar, or honestly, I don't care. I might be curious what you do for a living that you can afford that, but it's really none of my business. And I don't own one of those because, quite frankly, even if I could afford it, what a waste of money, in my opinion. I got to put premium gas in it. It's $5 a gallon here. Parts are difficult to get because they have to be imported in many cases. And at the end of the day, it's still going to take me from point A to point B, no differently than a Nissan or a Toyota or a Ford or a Chevy. But we live in a world of, when I went to Miami, Florida, I never saw more posers in my life. Women dressed in a very sexy way, and men dressed in very expensive clothes, driving very expensive cars. It was the biggest showing of lies I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen more posers in my life. And I just felt bad. I'm like, you've got to be so desperate for attention that you would walk around in public showing off your body like that to attract a guy who appears to have money and have wealth and success, when the reality could be that's not his car, or it's all in credit card debt. It's all like trying to impress other people that they don't even know. I never saw a city filled with bigger liars than Miami. I'm just saying. To me, my impression was none of these are real people. They're all dishonest. They're all, and I'm referring to the ones that fit that mold, by the way, not everybody in Miami, but I just never saw more people like that in one place. That's all I'm trying to get across. And I couldn't wait to get out of there. It was almost like everybody was a billboard selling themselves. Why are you for sale? That's weird, isn't it? It is. But hey, doesn't mean it's wrong. I just don't see any value. I don't respect that. That's my right. And if I go to Miami, I know exactly what to expect. And that's entertainment. Okay? It was shocking at first. Now I see it as, okay, it's not gonna upset me now. Now it's just entertainment. Look at this fool. That's all right. They could say the same about me. Manuel says, has the internet ever been reality? Yes, yeah. So when the internet first was created, it was mostly scientists, schools, libraries, absolutely. And there's always a dose of a little spamming back then, but most people didn't know what the internet was. And I would say right up until about the year 2000, 2003, that's when the shift happened. So if you weren't using the internet in 1995, then you wouldn't have that experience, right? You wouldn't know any better. But time changes and things evolve, and nobody could have foreseen. The internet, you do realize there was no such thing as a World Wide Web, right? I'm assuming you know this, that the internet was just a big text-based archive. That's all it was for information sharing. The browser, the Mosaic browser, wasn't invented until Well, Mark Andreessen and Jamie Zawinski created it, I think at MIT's project, the browser. And the browser only happened because of the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web was created by Tim Berners-Lee, 1989, at the CERN Physics Laboratory. I'm fact-checking myself. And the first browser didn't happen, so that was 89. And then the first browser didn't happen for a few years. That would have been first web browser. Well, they're giving the credit to Tim Berners-Lee in 1990, a year later. He not only invented the World Wide Web, but he also built the first ever web browser. He called it World Wide Web, but he renamed it to Nexus. I've never heard of this story. That's news to me. My understanding was the first browser was Mosaic, which became Netscape. And Mosaic was created by Mark Andreessen and Eric Bina. Oh, I thought it was Jamie Zawinski. See, I even got my facts wrong. And they were working as students and part-time staff at the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, the NCSA, at the University of Illinois. So it wasn't MIT. That was 1993. So that was 4 years after the World Wide Web was created. And that was the very first time a graphical browser was used to integrate images and text on the same page, making the web easily accessible to the general public. Once you make it easily accessible to the general public, that is probably the internet you know. Because you weren't a part of it probably, because you're probably part of the general public, or you wouldn't have asked that question. But that's the evolution. That's sort of how we got to where we were, but that's not how it started. But I appreciate it. It's a fair question, right? If you weren't around back then, you don't know. So David Graham wants to know if I've seen any more of the Oversight mini PCs. The one that he got from us was 2 years ago. It's still running 24/7. Oversight. Let's go to Amazon and see. I haven't seen that name in a long time. I don't know. Oversight. I don't know how to say that. I'm looking through Amazon. There doesn't seem to be a business called Oversight anymore. Either they're gone. Let's just do a Google search. Let's see if Google pulls up Oversight mini PC company wiki. Oversight is often branded now as Ovis, O-U-V-I-S. It's an affordable consumer electronics brand. Operating as a business overseas, with storefronts on major e-commerce platforms like Amazon and Walmart, the company focuses on delivering low-power, entry-level, and mid-range small form-factor PCs. Parent company is owned, or Oversight has a parent company that is manufactured and distributed by a Shenzhen-based consumer electronics group, such as Camuri and Napogi. Oh, does that mean Mini PC Union? Let's go to minipcunion.com. No, they are not listed as a manufacturer there. I thought they might be. Let's go back and just type OUVIS Mini PC and hit the shopping tab in Google and see if it exists. Oh, they are on Amazon. I found it with a Google search, ironically, instead of an Amazon search. Well, that makes it difficult to buy it if you can't find it. Let me share the window with you here. So here I'm on Amazon's website, Oversight Mini PC, and wow, an Atom-based processor? Holy cow! Oh, it's unavailable. I like that. What is that? 12 years old? Let's see. Have they come out with anything? Is this just an old abandoned page? Is anything available for sale? Everything here looks over 10 years old. Oh, what's this? JK05. That looks pretty new. Shop now. I don't think they're in business. I think this is all abandoned. Is anything for sale? Unavailable, 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 unavailable. Yeah, they're gone or in hibernation. That explains why the search didn't bring anything. I mean, if you Google when the N3350 came out, let's type in up here, N3350 CPU release date. 2016, 10 years ago. I called it. So there hasn't been anything new from them in 10 years. I think it sounds like abandonment. They didn't shut the pages down, and they're not offering for anything for sale. They're just taking up space for no reason. Maybe it's a good historical record that they're not a figment of your imagination of the past, but they certainly don't seem to exist today. And they could have rebranded, you know, or something like that. But it seems pretty irresponsible to me to not have the courtesy to take your pages down. But Amazon's not showing it on a search anyway. So Amazon's certainly treating it like it doesn't exist. You know, sometimes a company can make a good product and they just can't stay in business. And that's marketing. You could have the best restaurant in the world with the best food at the best prices, but nobody knows you exist. And you end up filing for bankruptcy because you can't pay your bills. And you did nothing wrong. It was all marketing. You know, marketing is interesting. A company like Wish.com they kind of partnered with Facebook in marketing, and they'd spent $1.6 billion in advertising on Facebook primarily to bring in $2 billion worth of sales. They weren't making any money. And they said, well, we just have to spend more on marketing. That's the idea. The more you spend on marketing, the more money you make. And then Facebook said, we're going to start charging more for the advertising. But Wish wasn't making any more money on the cheap products they were selling. And Wish thought, well, when people buy from us once, that'll generate a loyalty. We don't have to keep it. Nope, that's not how it works. When Wish said we have to cut our marketing budget, they lost their sales. So if they spent $1 billion on marketing, they made like $1.3 billion in sales. And they spent $500,000 on marketing, and they made like $800,000 in sales. Month after month. But I'm talking annual, I'm talking monthly. And when they said, okay, we can't afford to market anymore, where's Wish today? Now, they also sold a lot of dangerous products. They were also sued by a lot of state and governments for dangerous products, lead in the paint, toxic materials, and products being deceitful. Someone ordered a pair of shoes and they got a little teeny tiny pair of shoes. You know, someone ordered a Tiffany lamp, and what it was a little stained glass about this big of a Tiffany lamp. It wasn't actually a lamp at all. So there was a lot of deceit, and that was by the sellers. They were going from the factories in China directly to the consumer. There was no, so these factories, they did anything they could to steal a dollar. Temu was the middleman that marketed it and promoted it and then profited from it. And that's only done through advertising. And I think Oversight just didn't market themselves. They didn't spend the money, and now they apparently don't exist. You can't just make a good product, and you can't just have good support. Nobody will know you exist. John Wayne, 1985, contributes a $10 super chat. Hey, Carey, he says, I've been watching on and off for a few years. I'm now ready to upgrade my PC. As of today, what's your top 3 recommended tried and true mini PC brands? I just need a starting point. Well, it depends on what you need it for, what your budget is, what your future plans are with it. I would start with Minis Forum because they have the biggest variety of varying mini PCs from budget to mid-range, high-end, and even gaming. And NASAs and keyboards and like they've got the whole farm. It's not just these are horses. A lot of places, a lot of mini PC manufacturers, they specialize in a particular area. What we primarily focus on here would be what would be more budget oriented, because that's what your average consumer is going to buy. Again, they say they want the high end, but when they go in the store, they're buying low end. So if you're going to buy low end, that doesn't mean it's a bad product. You know, we've had very good luck, mixed luck with Ace Magic and Kamrui. Overall, it's been positive. So, you know, they've had a few areas where they, in my opinion, need improvement that I think Paladin or BOSGAME are doing much better, but have fewer models to choose from and maybe a little higher priced. Miniswarm, I feel like, is the only one I'm aware of that has that variety where it's all equal in quality and value. Cheaper PC, cheaper price. Higher end PC, higher price. I'm not aware of any single mini PC manufacturer that offers the variety Miniswarm does, and they're having a sale right now. Just FYI, Miniswarm has never paid me. If you see a lot of Miniswarm products here, it's because they cooperate with us. A lot of mini PC makers don't. A lot of mini PC makers want commercials. They say, "Will you give us a review? And can we see it before you air it? And can you make sure you say that?" You know, at what point is that now a review commercial? If I can't film it live, unscripted and unrehearsed, without them having to check it first, or if they're going to pay me to do it, it's not a review. You can say it's a review. You could also say I'm 10 feet tall. You could say blah, 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 blah. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean anything if you can't back it up. So Miniswarm does back it up constantly. And, you know, we've had some stumbling points with Ace Magic, but overall, I like them. We've had some stumbling points with Kamrui. They're the same company, so that's to be expected. Overall, you know, take a look at GMK Tech. With GMK Tech, we've liked about 8 out of every 10 computers they make. But the fact that they have 2 we don't like. With Miniswarm, I don't know that there's one I don't like. I think their NASs are a little premature. Same with Arico, because of their operating system. All these other mini PC makers making NASs don't include operating systems. And if they don't include an operating system, to me, it's not a NAS without the operating system. That's my personal opinion. If you're just selling me a mini PC with multiple bays and saying that's a NAS, okay. And not in my book, it isn't. You need to be able to take it out of the box, turn it on, and it should have software pre-installed, like Synology, QNAP, ASUS Store, TerraMaster. But as far as mini PCs go, I would go to Miniswarm. I would start there. And then if you have follow-up questions, you know, feel free to ask. And I don't know another manufacturer that offers the variety, the quality, the pricing. You can get, you know, 2 out of 3, but someone that does all 3 of those things, as far as I know, it's just Miniswarm. They stand alone in that. That's my opinion, anyway. Eugene Ildago joins us and says hello. So we had that the GMK Tech M2 Pro S. That shouldn't even be for sale. Like that should be on eBay. They shouldn't be selling those. I do like a lot of the GMK Techs, but there's a couple, in my opinion, that should be pulled. That computer's over 6 years old, and it's being sold brand new on Amazon today, right alongside other GMK Tech products that are very good. So if you don't do your background work and check, how do you know if you're buying a good GMK Tech or a bad GMK Tech? Miniswarm doesn't do that. Miniswarm does sell refurbished computers, and if you're really looking for a bargain, look at what they're selling refurbished. But keep in mind that if they're selling a computer that has like a little base or a stand, they don't include those in the refurbished computers. And I don't think you can buy them. If you're not getting it, you're not going to be paying for it, right? So if there's a big steel stand that they demonstrate the computer's kind of sitting up like this, you read the fine print. It says any stands are not included. So that means you won't be able to use it the way they show the picture. But they do disclose it. Not everybody sees it, but it is disclosed. And they still offer warranties on those and returns on those. So if you didn't read it and you weren't paying attention, they'll still honor a return, just FYI. But the refurbished mini swarms you have to buy directly from Mini Swarm. They don't sell them anywhere else. Or you could always look to eBay, but you never quite know. That's where you got to rely on seller feedback. But I would personally buy from somewhere where I have a 30-day return policy. And then that way you can't go wrong. You wouldn't have to ask anybody any advice. You could just guess. Buy whatever you want from Amazon, and if you don't like it for any reason, return it within 30 days and buy something else till you get it figured out. Amazon doesn't mind at all. People are afraid for some reason that they might make a bad purchase. I don't know why you're afraid of that. If you're ordering it from AliExpress and it's shipping from China, returning it will be almost impossible. You know, back in the day, the United States said it's not fair for these developing countries to pay all this money to ship stuff to us. They don't have any money. So we're going to make it really, really cheap for them to ship stuff to the United States. And up until recently, the US government classified China as an underdeveloped country. So their shipping to the United States was pennies. But for you to ship it back, oh, try it sometime. It can cost more than the product. But if you buy from Amazon, right, and you don't like a product, you just return it within 30 days. Unless Amazon says otherwise, most products are fully returnable for any reason within 30 days, provided you return everything. You don't get to keep some of the stuff. If it came with screws, you better send back the screws. If it came with an instruction manual, you understand? Like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's okay for you to screw somebody. That ain't right. You're a thief if you do that. So put it all back exactly the way you bought it. Put it back in its original box so it can be resold. Otherwise, Amazon may deny your review, or your return, not your review. But you shouldn't be afraid of making a bad purchase as long as you're making it from a reputable seller. So if you buy from Mini Swarm, they're reputable. If you buy from Amazon, you'll probably get it a lot faster. You might pay a little bit more, not always, but to have that peace of mind and that insurance, you've got 30 days to make up your mind. If you can't make up your mind in 30 days, it's pretty obvious you like it. You know what I mean? Somebody says, I can't decide if I like this food, but you've eaten all of it. It appears you did like it. And don't be afraid. Just go out there and, you know, if it looks good to you, do a little bit of research, see what other reviewers have said about it, both in YouTube or written reviews. Decide for yourself. Read the reviews on Amazon. If it sounds good and the price is right, order it. If you get it, you don't like it, send it back. It's free to send back. 100% money back. It won't cost you a penny. Nothing to be fearful of. Nothing to have any anxiety. You should be looking forward to that experience. It's pretty interesting. And hey, if you just happen to nail it right out of the gate, you know, you're happy with your first, you know, you made it, this one looks good, I like the price, you get it and you're very happy with it, job done. But that anxiety goes away either way, because if you don't like it, it's no big deal. Really not. Don't be afraid of that. The opposite. You should invite it and have fun with it. Get to explore and experience that only you will experience. Nobody else will experience it. So if you're afraid of that, you're only hurting you. And then when you make up your mind and you go through your process, if you want to share that experience, we would love to hear what you picked, why you picked it, why you returned it, or why you kept it. Because that could help somebody else. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the super chat. Andy does say some of the items from Mini Swarms ship from China. This is true, and it could take up to 3 weeks to arrive. Very true. If you order from any mini PC maker and you're not ordering it from Amazon, it's probably going to ship from China. A company like Nemo, they're ordering from China to their US warehouse, and they ship from their US warehouse. And they can modify the computer any way you want it. You want dual channel, single channel RAM. In most cases, they can accommodate whatever your need is. And of course, it'll be priced accordingly, but it's always an aggressive price point. If you have to return it under warranty, it goes to Vermont. It doesn't go to China. Excellent customer support, great value. in my opinion. So if you were looking for a really inexpensive laptop, I would consider Nemo. And these are likely not names you've ever heard of before. They don't have big marketing budgets, and if they did, the computer would have to cost more to pay for all the marketing. So Andy said he's using a mini swarm right now. They're the king of the hill mini PC maker. Yeah, I mean, I used to like B-Link, but they've fallen. They're a shadow of their former selves. It's sad, but I'm avoiding B-Link now at all costs because their company is basically a ghost town. So you're on your own for support. Drivers, the websites don't work right, the links don't work right. Some of the drivers are completely missing or aren't included in their driver packs. And if you're lucky enough to get a response from them, they'll say, no, it isn't. They just contradict you with no facts and don't make it right. You know how maddening that is? You're missing a driver. No, we're not. Well, I guess it's just my imagination then. What do I know? By the way, your website doesn't work. Yes, it does. So I'm not going to work with them until they fix that, because they weren't like that before. They used to have integrity. I don't know what happened to it. Integrity and dignity have gone away at B-Link for some reason, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go out of business. If I see a thing in the news that says B-Link has closed their doors, I would say I saw that coming, because I don't know how much longer you can continue to behave like that towards your customers that are paying you and still stay in business. Doesn't seem like something's going to happen, right? You're either going to run out of money because they're pissing people off, or they're going to change their ways and go back to being reputable again and having some dignity. We'll see which one happens first, and I'll let you know if anything changes. In the meantime, I'm not recommending them until such time as they return back to the once great company they used to be, in my opinion. I will say in my opinion for legal reasons, but also in honesty, because I would not recommend them to my customers, because I don't want that to be, I don't want to be connected with that. So if I sell them a computer and it breaks and they can't get any help, I'm the one who sold it, so I'm the bad guy. If we take a look over at Minis Forum, minisforum.com, what I normally do is I will look at the manufacturer's website to see if there's a product that I like that I want to buy, okay? But I don't order from Minis Forum. I order from Amazon. So I use Minis Forum as the catalog, and I use Amazon as the place to buy. I would go to Best Buy and look at laptops physically in person, and then I would say, okay, I like this make and model, or it would be Fry's Electronics, and I would see it in person, and if I liked it, then I'd go buy it from Amazon. Because shopping by looking at pictures is difficult, but at least if we can get the entire product line and we can get pricing, we have a baseline to start with. And the reason I do that primarily is for the peace of mind of Amazon returns, the fast shipping. In the case of Minis Forum, if I can order it either from Amazon or from Minis Forum, I prefer to order it from Amazon because I'm going to get it faster. And if it's a few dollars more, well, ship a package overnight and let me know if it costs you any more. I mean, it's kind of built into the shipping. The cost of the unit is also including that faster shipping. That's the way I choose to see it. So not only do they have their anniversary, and I mean, look at page after page and listing after listing, they have certified refurbished, and these change pretty much daily. So if there's something you're looking for that's out of stock, keep checking back, first come, first serve. So if we're looking for a mini PC, see they have a bunch here that are refurbished. They have a warranty, they have the same 30-day return, all of that. Some of them are sold out, okay? But the reason they're still here is because they're still, like this one says it's sold out, the Minis Forum M1. They'll be getting more M1s in. It's not so old that if it was that old, it would be removed. But the fact that they keep the bookmark here is it's a placeholder, so that when more units come in, all they have to do is, you know, update this one little bit of information. I don't have to rewrite it again. Wow, that's a good deal. Oh, it's sold out. Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. Look at here, a UM870 Slim refurbished, $239. It's got to be bare bones. Yeah, it is. So you got to put your own RAM and storage. But still, you know, less than $250. It's an AMD Ryzen 7, 8-core, 16-thread, up to 4.9 gigahertz with a 780M Radeon graphics, DDR5 dual channel, and 2 PCIe Gen 4 slots. You do have to put your own RAM and storage and operating system on it, but geez, oh man, that's a lot for $239. So there's some bargains to be had, and those who will keep an eye on the page, watch for the deals, you've got to be there first. Very limited quantities here. And if you miss it, don't worry. You're just going to have to be a little bit more diligent watching for in the future in grabbing those deals, you know, being the first. So what you're saving in money, you're spending in time. But it is an option, you know, that you might want to consider as well. John Wayne, again, with a $5 super chat. I really appreciate your recommendation, he says. I was already eyeing minis for them, and I'll definitely be checking out some of their products. Absolutely. If you see a product that we've reviewed and you want to buy it from us, as I mentioned, one of the things that we do here is we will buy a lot of our products with our membership money and super chat money. And when we're done reviewing them, we don't need them. We obviously can't sell it for what we paid. We're going to lose money. And we have to pay for shipping. But if you're in the United States, it wouldn't hurt for you to reach out and ask, hey, you know, I saw you reviewed XYZ. Do you still have it? Are you interested in selling it? Worst we can say is no, or we want too much money that, you know, there's no harm in asking us. However, be sure you know what you're buying from us. I'm not a shop. I can't afford to have you send it back. I mean, I'm going to eat the shipping. I'm just going to lose more money. But if you feel pretty confident that that's the machine you want, and you want a better price than Miniswarm is going to give you or Amazon's going to give you, we're going to lose money on it. And we'd rather lose the money to a viewer than to sell it on eBay at a loss, because then eBay takes a part of the profit. And that means we lose even more money. So if I lose $150, at least I'm getting something back that I can turn around and reinvest back into another product so we can make another review, and around the wheel goes. And we try to help everybody equally. We're trying not to have like any favoritism. So like if two people are interested in a computer, but somebody just bought a computer from us, somebody else never bought a computer from us before, we're going to go to the person that never bought one before to give them the first choice. Just to be fair, that's all. I don't want one person monopolizing the channel. But on the other hand, anybody offering to support us in that way it means a lot to me, and I really do appreciate it. I'll put the email address right here on the screen. So if you want to reach out to us, we're always happy to hear from you. Showcasecreate@gmail.com is how you can reach us. And we handle all of this privately. We won't talk about pricing or availability in the chat room. You know, God forbid somebody gets jealous or something like that. We don't want that to happen. We have some viewers that have been so financially supportive to us. You know, like Buster, for example, or Frankie B. We'd practically give it to them if they asked. Not practically, we would. Depending on what it is, we'd probably just give it to them because they've given us so much. But for everyone else, we still want to help you out, and it's all going to vary on who you are and how much the shipping's going to cost. There's a lot of variables. Just keep that in mind. It's not like one size fits all type of deal. And so we handle that privately for those reasons. We're not trying to hide anything. We're just trying to avoid conflict, potentially. Potentially. All right. We've got a lot of mini PC reviews we've done, and we have a lot of mini PCs here, probably about 30 of them. So some of them that we've reviewed, we've gotten rid of. Others are sticking around. Some that we just reviewed, we're holding on to for future follow-ups. It's some we have no interest in following up on. like this one. I don't need to. It's BOSGAME. You know what I mean? I'd rather sell it, make sure one of the viewers gets some savings there, or losses are minimized, and we can then turn around and reuse that money to buy something else. And not rocket science, just how we're operating with the economy being what it is. We're trying to find a win-win-win situation where nobody's taking advantage of anybody. Speaking of Frankie B, there he is in the chat. Hey, Frankie. John Paul Bacon says, nice stream. Thank you. Edward Bass joins us and says hello. JFK, is that our friend John from Philadelphia? Says hello, welcome in. Arnold Albert says hello. I'm just looking through the chat to see if I missed any questions. If I've missed your question, please write it in there again, because it might have scrolled off. I'm more than happy to answer them if I'm paying attention. And other than that, we'll probably wrap it up for today. We're just at the 2-hour mark. And then I can get this out to FedEx today. So our friend Mark in Chicago will probably get it by Friday. We ship everything 2-day express. These cost about $40 to ship anywhere in the United States using FedEx 2-day express, which is hilarious to me because FedEx ground shipping would take upwards of 7 days, you know, to go to the opposite side of the country and cost as much or more. And FedEx says, well, the 2-day express isn't a permanent option. We're just offering it now. And I think it's because the economy's tight for them and they're trying to encourage people. Use us. Don't use UPS. Don't use USPS. We'll make it worth your while. We'll even give you a free box. If it'll fit in the box, it'll ship for this fixed price. And they have like 3 different size boxes. And some of the mini PCs fit in a medium-sized box, which is a lower flat rate. And some of them are a bit larger and they go into their large box, which is a slightly higher flat rate. But it doesn't matter where it's going in the United States, as long as it's not a PO box. That's all they care about. No PO boxes. FedEx is not consistent. So basically, they cannot guarantee delivery to a PO box. It might be, it might not be. So we don't run the dice on that. If somebody wants us to ship to a PO box, we just tell them no. We don't get the same guarantee from FedEx on that. FedEx will say, well, we might. The people running at the stores, they don't know what the local delivery person is going to do. So the local delivery person could have a good relationship with the local post office, or they may not. Sometimes people are like, I've got a PO box and I've had stuff from FedEx. Okay, but they won't guarantee it to me. I don't care what they do for you. They won't guarantee it for me. And if it gets sent back to me, I don't get refunded the shipping cost. Then you're going to expect me to pay for it again, right? Or if I refund your money, no matter what, I've just lost $40 because you're being stubborn. So I don't want to do business with you. If you won't give me your real address, you don't need to order from me. And it's not because I'm being a jerk. I just don't. I'm already losing money, for crying out loud. So if you want that, go somewhere else. And it's unfortunate that I've had to deal with some people like that. None of you guys. You guys are fine. This was on eBay. Oh, and Mark is in the chat room too. There he is. He says, what happened? I was getting my eyes checked. Everything's good, Mark. I was showing off the benchmark results of Cinebench. This has 3 modes: quiet mode in the BIOS, performance mode, and balanced. I think leaving this on performance mode, it's not running any hotter. It ran the same temperature in any mode. And the Cinebench scores were higher, and the fan is very quiet regardless. So I would just leave it in performance mode. And I demonstrated those results as well as the basically Gen 3 benchmarks. Pretty much all you missed. It's definitely a recommended buy from my perspective. And when you get it, you'll have to let us know what you think. I'm sure you'll like it. But if you're not liking it for some reason, I definitely want to know why. I don't think we have any mini PCs coming in at this time. I will be doing a follow-up on the Ace Magic, the N3A NAS. Ace Magic, when we reached out to them about our concerns, they basically said, we're still figuring it out ourselves. And I appreciate the honesty. Because I said, I don't understand how this is supposed to work. They said, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, neither do we. They said, that's why we're sending it to you, right? So we could get this feedback, because we don't know. And I'm like, well, these are the problems I'm having. And they said, okay, we appreciate that. And with regards to the unit not recognizing tray 3, they said, well, did you try other drives in tray 3? I did. I tried all 4 drives. You guys witnessed it. They can't be bothered to watch the video. I said we used 4 drives, and we moved the drives. We rotated the drives to all the bays, and every drive worked in every bay, but no drive, or every bay except bay 3. No drive worked in bay 3. Your BIOS won't show the status. There doesn't seem to be a way to turn on RAID. They said, yeah, it's a software-only RAID. It's not a hardware RAID. Okay. You've got compatibility support mode on Windows 11. How did you get Windows 11 installed? Windows 11 requires UEFI. UEFI cannot happen in compatibility support mode. Well, we recommend you use this other operating system. Well, then why did you ship it with Windows 11? I said, do you guys maybe have a, here's a guide. I want to know, how do you foresee somebody using this? Home user for what? Just as storage? They basically said it's just meant as a storage drive. So it's a mini PC with 4 bays, and 2 of the bays you can't see in the BIOS? Yeah, that's right. It's built into the chip. Okay, but everybody else shows the drives in the BIOS. You're the only ones who don't. We're working on that. Or that's how we do it. It was very dismissive. But they did respond, and they were quite honest about it, and I appreciate the honesty. They've got work to do. And I said, well, what do you want me to do with this? I've tried different drives. All the drives work in bays 1, 2, and 4. None of the drives work in bay 3. They said, it sounds like you got a damaged unit. We'd like to replace it. Would you be open to returning it to us for a replacement? And I said, yes, absolutely. Just tell me where to ship it. And we're waiting now on that response, and I'll share that update with you. Is it going back to China? If it is, it's probably going to cost $50 or $60 or $70 or $80. And who's going to pay for that? Are they going to reimburse me? Or do they have a US depot? They're being cooperative, and they're responding pretty quickly. That's a good sign. But how are they going to handle this problem? Now, if I was Ace Magic, I would not inconvenience me. I would just send me another one at their cost. Because what are they going to do with it anyway? Going to fix it? Probably not. It's probably something that they can pull the case apart, or replace the motherboard in it. Maybe I should offer them that. Maybe if they just want to send me a new motherboard, I'll change it myself. I just thought of that. Let me see where they want me to ship it first. If they have a local US depot, it's no problem. That's no problem at all. I can't use the FedEx Express 2-day because they don't have a box big enough for flat rate. But I really appreciate they're on top of it, and they're being very, very transparent with regards to, they're aware that the product is very rough around the edges, and And again, that's why they sent it. They're basically getting a quality control evaluation for free in my review. I respect that. I mean, I'm honored, to be honest, that my opinion means that much. So we'll see how that progresses, and I'll keep you informed. David Graham said they should be sending me a mailing label, no cost to you. Yeah, and maybe they will. I just don't know. That's all I'm saying. You know, there's some anxiety because they kind of opened the door, but they haven't walked through it yet. Do you want to come in? Yes. And then they were waiting. What's their response? But they've been pretty quick to respond, so I don't have any worries. But the problem is I can't follow up the N5A NAS until we get this resolved. And they don't have any other resolution. They said, well, it sounds like what you did verifies that something's wrong with that third bay, which is what I thought, but I let them say it. Now what do we do? And they said you can send it back. Okay, where? Who's paying for it? That's where we're currently at. This is in progress. And once we get answers to that, we'll follow up with you guys and let you know. And then once we have that resolved, we can put it back up on the bench. And hopefully, you know, they can give me some kind of guide. You know, they said you're not supposed to change the BIOS. It's supposed to be in compatibility support mode. And if you change it, that's not on us. I said, well, do you have like a guide? I'm not trying to undermine you. I'm just trying to understand. How did you even get Windows 11 installed on this? I don't think Windows 11 will install if compatibility support mode is enabled. So I think you had to circumvent the Windows security settings to get that installed. You forced it on. Or did you? Like, I don't want to make any accusations, but I don't know how they did that. As far as I know, it can't be done without hacking. And if they're saying they don't even recommend Windows 11 on it, then why did you ship it Windows 11 on it? What's going on? And they just said, yeah, we're not quite sure. Okay. At least they're honest. They didn't have an answer for me. We're still working on it. We're still trying to figure it out. Okay, that's fair. I don't mind. I just want to know, am I working on a product you're selling, or am I working on a product you're working on? Just so I can tell the audience. Magalo said, will this PC do video editing or not? Any computer will do video editing. There's no such thing as a computer that won't do video editing. What people are talking about mostly is how long it'll take. And how long it'll take will depend on the length of the video you're editing, if it's in 1080 4K, if it's an hour long or 3 minutes long. You know, our good friend Mitch Morrison, he will submit auditions where he films himself doing the audition. And, you know, he's his own cameraman, and so he sets up the camera, sets up his iPhone on a tripod, and runs through the audition a few times. He'll bring up video editing software, pick the version of the audition that he wants to submit, and cut out all the other. So there's no overlays, there's no transitions, it's just a simple cut, and that's it. Cut at the front, and cut at the end. Then he renders that out and sends it an email. It can't be very big, otherwise he wouldn't be able to send it an email. And it doesn't require much to do that. And, you know, he's loading up DaVinci Resolve, which is a full movie scale editing platform, just to do a cut. He could use CapCut, honestly. But regardless of that, you know, it's fine. His computers do it just fine. And any computer will do that. Any single computer that can run whatever your editing software runs on. So if your editing software runs on Windows 10 or Windows 11, any computer running Windows 10 or 11 will run that software. And then whether or not it's performing to your expectation is really for you to decide. Nobody can tell that to you. There's too many variables and differences, and I've only touched on them. But if you want to buy a race car, but you can only afford an economy car, then the problem is you're not being realistic, because otherwise that's what we'd all be doing, right? You will get what you pay for. And so if you want to be really demanding about it, you'll need to be paying for that. But if your needs are simple anyway, there's no reason for your demands to not be met under those conditions. Mark Leibowitz said, it's my business to make sure all my clients get great minis. If I can do something for the channel in the process, so much the better. I love your attitude, Mark. Thank you so much. Mark says, I've been following this BOSGAME P3 mix since you got it. I haven't seen anything so far that would make me not like it. I do have 1 or 2 clients with other BOSGAME models, so he's already familiar with the manufacturer and he's got no complaints. Otherwise, he wouldn't be buying this one. So again, that actual experience that he's sharing with us is valuable information. Listening to some rando on Reddit or some enthusiast on YouTube, it's fine for entertainment, but I wouldn't trust it. When it's coming from real, actual, real-world experience, you know the person's not lying, they really did buy it, and they really had this good or bad experience, that's the only information I find valuable online with regards to reviews. Even the Amazon reviews, many of them are fake. Many of them are just, they could be the competitors complaining, trying to throw their competition under the bus under false reviews. Or they're reviews where they got a free product. And if they want to keep getting free products, they better say nice things. So they're not being told what to say, but they know if they say something critical, they probably won't get another free thing. So you can't trust them, that's all. So that's why Amazon will say verified purchase under some reviews. It's highly unlikely a manufacturer will buy their own product and eat all those expenses so they can leave a review for their own product. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know how many of those you could afford to do on a $400 computer. Chris Johnson says hello. Welcome in, Chris. See if I missed any other questions. I don't think so. I think we're all caught up here. All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for me for today. Mark, I'm going to get this put back in the box just like it was brand new, minus the little bag it was in. You know. I'm going to take it over to FedEx as soon as we're done here, because they pick up at 5 o'clock. It's 3:15 here in Phoenix, so I've got an hour and 45 minutes to get this packaged up and get in the car and get over there. And then I'll have Mara reach out to you with your tracking information. If it goes out today by 5, you'll probably get it Friday, just FYI. And thank you so much. Both you and Andy, you know, you guys have been very helpful in helping us find computers to review and even supporting us with purchasing many of the computers. So you guys are fantastic. All of you are, but especially when you can help us unload some of this inventory and we can reuse that money to get more inventory that we can later figure out. It's an evil cycle, let me tell you. I just keep repeating the same problems, but I really enjoy making the content. I enjoy making the reviews, and without you guys, without all of you in green and all of the super chats and that support, it's not coming from the companies. You wouldn't be able to trust me if it did. All right, just double checking. Everything's quiet. We're back on Friday. We'll be following up. I still have hold on, let me see. We have 4 mini PCs that we've done a part 1 on that I need to do what I just did today. I need to do a part 2 follow-up with benchmark results, or in some cases, you know, we never looked at the BIOS or we never opened it up. I'm trying to be thorough, but not necessarily in the same order. I'm not a machine, despite what you might read on Reddit. Once we're through with those, we'll do 1 on Friday, 1 on Sunday, 1 on next Wednesday, 1 on next Friday, and then that's all we have. We're completely cleaned out. We'll work with Ace Magic. Maybe we'll have a solution in place or in progress by then. I expect we should. And maybe we'll have other products coming in for review. Maybe some tech gadgets. I don't know. We'll figure something out. If there's anything you want to see more of, especially if it's anything I can do with any parts I already have, like how do you make Windows shares work, or how do you hook up a KVM, stuff like that, where we already have the parts and you just want me to revisit that process, let me know. Send us that email. A shout out and a thank you to Maralina, our channel administrator here, that she responds to your email. She works with companies like Ace Magic. She's the main point of contact that arranges for these reviews. And she creates our thumbnails. She does our video descriptions. And of course, we wouldn't be here without our members. Always a shout out to all of our friends in green. Well, thank you, Mark Leibowitz, for your support. Thanks to Buster, our good friend Peter Laycock. Thanks to Mark Gaines, of course, Frankie B. We have some very generous supporters here that, well, I'll tell you what, you know, folks like Mortant, Luke Renia. You know, the problem is when I start mentioning names, I feel bad that I'm always leaving people out. Please don't be offended by that. We're very lucky to have so many supporters, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I want to make that very, very clear. And for the general public enjoying these videos for free, it's because of those people in green. It's not because of BOSGAME. I don't have the finances to do it on my own. And we're not selling out to a corporation. So unless you know something I don't know how else to do this. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys back here on Friday when we follow up part 2 on one of these other 4. I haven't decided which one yet. And again, on Sunday, another unit with a part 2, as I mentioned. So I hope you'll join us then. We start each show live at 1 o'clock Phoenix time, which is currently the same as Pacific. For the summertime, we're the same time. In the fall and the winter, there's a difference, but let's not talk about that right now. Okay? I don't want to confuse you. 1 o'clock Pacific time in the summer is when we start. It's always 1 o'clock in Phoenix. That's where the confusion is. Phoenix never, we don't observe daylight saving time ever. Never, ever, ever. So when others around us do it, their time is changing, but not us. But since you're probably not watching us from Arizona, you're the one changing your clock, not me. In the meantime, 1 o'clock Pacific time is when we start the show, and we'll be doing that on Friday and Sunday, every Friday, every Sunday, every Wednesday when possible. And Mondays we do members only live streams where only the people in green can watch. That's it. They never go public with that content. That's just a benefit of membership. And there's other benefits of membership too. But primarily the main benefit is we can keep doing this. I hope that's mutually beneficial for all of us. Thank you so much for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you again on Friday. And until then, bye for now.